So then we're down from finding the one sound, waiting for that shift to happen, going into the resolution. And there are some points about the resolution. Remember in the beginning when we started the interview and you found out what the issue was, what do? We set
an intention. So we want to come back to the intention and ensure that we've really supported our intention.
Yeah. And you can ask, well, it seems that to me from observing that, you made a shift, or you can tell by them moving into some positive phrases, or looking at the issue from a different angle, seeing, what else is true about that. And then, all right, what do you do with that? Once you've got, is the intention met, then what do you do?
Well, it's how do we integrate that into daily life?
Okay.
So from what was experienced, maybe working with the client to come up with a good home play strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
So what the old school way of doing things would be what? After you're finished with a lesson, what does a teacher usually do?
Oh, I'm giving you homework.
Yeah, right. So it's much more meaningful, isn't it, when you can figure out for yourself what it is you need to do to reinforce this. All right.
So the facilitator asking, how would this work in your, what can you do in your life to support and strengthen what we've just worked on?
Exactly. And there I want to just really stress to you that it doesn't have to be these huge, humongous kinds of things. You're not going to have to go out and conquer the world, but you are going to have to take your next baby step. And oftentimes I'll just say, well, what is your next step? Or what are your next 2 or 3 steps? And just give them, enough to chew on. And so they aren't overwhelmed. And it's, again, when you're an educator, you're looking at realistic goals, things that they can accomplish, a step-by-step process, that sort of thing. All right. And so finally you're at the end of the session. You've got the client assigning his homework, and you've given some of your input, but not too much, right? And then, if necessary, is there going to be a follow-up session or not?
Remembering to ask that is important.
It is. How do they feel? Do they feel like they've completed enough of the work that they need to integrate that for a few weeks, or are they really needing to have, more consistent reinforcement and come every week for a while? And so you kind of talk that over with the client and decide together what you're going to do. So that pretty much, I think, sums up the process. Do you have anything now that you want to add to that in terms of what you learned, or what you're going to be really focusing on today in today's session?
Oh, I'm going to be focusing on everything we just talked about.
Of course you are, being the good student that you are.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, all right. So,
actually, I think intention setting.
Okay.
That's actually really what I, and the probing questions piece.
Yeah.
Not getting off the mark, because that's, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think the other things will follow, the physical, just because it's really, what's very interesting is our relationship is closer now. So touching you is easier. So that's really interesting is if you're working with someone if you don't know that person, figuring out what's okay with them physically, it's like working through that kind of piece.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, you're building trust and you're getting to know your client, because that's a good point to bring up at this point, because we have, if you recall, assigned you 5 mini sound healings. And the first part of that work was your body part work, which is really a lot different than this emotional pain release stuff, isn't it?
It's a lot. It's
Right.
personal, but in a different way.
Right, you can sound on the client, work on a body part. You know, sometimes they're lying down. It's rather passive. It can be rather passive, and they're maybe involved with you. Maybe they're not. But in emotional release work, that can take on a little different, quite a different flavor. And so remember now to start doing those write-ups. You should be, you know, using that form that I gave you in your workbook. Follow that through in terms of writing up your body part work. And then as you do the emotional release, there's guidelines for that as well. Make sure that you write it up, because I'm going to be looking for those things. I'm going to be looking for.
And it's easy to forget.
Right, yeah.
If you don't write it up pretty much
I'm for
immediately.
sure going to want to know what the one sound, what was the issue, and what was the one sound, and you know, did you facilitate this? What kinds of sounds came up, and so forth? What was the resolution? So be sure that you're getting your homework done and handed in so that you can gauge your progress. It's more important. It's not me as teacher going over and red marking things and that sort of thing. That's really old school. This is for you. This shows you your own progress. Okay.